Hey, it's your girl Shay Baby from the Brown Book Series. Check this out. Back in February, I participated in a conference called RIDE, and it was brought to you by Rolling Out in conjunction with the Penguin Random House. In that conference, I was awarded the opportunity to interview author Denise Williams. The conference was centered around amplifying Black stories, amplifying Black voices, and this young lady has an amazing story. I can now bring the interview to this platform here at the Brown Book Series. And I thought, what better way to end National Women's Month than to air the interview? So sit back and relax. Brown Book Series, a novel experience featuring author Denise Williams. I hope you enjoy it.
Open up your brown book, baby. It's for you, it's for us. The fantasies, no one can judge us, no one can judge us. This is for us. Open up your brown book, baby. It's for you.
Hey, it's your girl Shay Baby from the Brown Book Series, and welcome to RIDE. RIDE is here to provide access to practical tools, insights, information, and resources to African American leaders and professionals. This next professional that I'm about to talk to, her name is Denise Williams. Denise is a romance author who jumped on the scene last year with her new novel, How to Fail at Flirting. And you're talking about amplifying Black voices, baby. She jumped on the scene with a loud voice that went straight to the top. That's right. Her novel went straight to the top. Right. Hold on tight. Stay tuned. Next up is my interview with, I'm just going to go ahead on and say it, award-winning author, Denise Williams. Hey, again, welcome to RideCon, where we're amplifying Black voices with romance author. I'm just going to go ahead on and put it out there. Best-selling author, USA Today's New York Times award-winning author, Emma Award winner. What's the other awards? RWA, all that. I'm just going to put that out there. This author, Miss Denise Williams. Hey, Denise, how are you, darling?
Thank you for having. Well, I'm better now. You just made me a bestseller on like 19 different lists, so that was excellent.
Girl, let me tell you, that is like, listen, I'm so dead serious because look, have you read your book? Or did you just put it out? Because evidently you didn't read it. Did you read it? I'm serious.
I actually have not reread it since it came out, so it's probably been like a year or two since I read the book. I listened to it, but
no, you need to read it. And when you read it, you're gonna be like, oh, this whoever wrote this is a bestseller. It is so awesome. So, Denise, tell us a little bit about yourself. Because hold on, and please include you being in Iowa, because I didn't know Black people was in Iowa until like a couple years ago. So, yeah. Please.
I could go into like the Black history of Iowa, but there actually is a kind of a rich history, but that's a whole other thing.
But it's Black History Month, though, so you can indulge us a little bit.
It is. Yeah. So I went to college in Iowa. I hadn't ever heard of the school. They offered me a scholarship, and I was deciding between a scholarship at Iowa State University and a scholarship at FAMU. Oh. And I kind of flipped a coin and ended up in Iowa, and it was a great place for me. And got my degree there, and then I left, got my master's, came back. I've worked there for about 12 years, and I got my PhD there. So I've been in Iowa a long time. I do somewhere have a t-shirt that says, yes, there are Black people in Iowa. George Washington Carver is an alum of the same place I was before he went down to Tuskegee. So we have a few folks in Iowa, so we can come back to that if we need to. But yes, I've been there. I used to love reading romance when I was younger. I binged a lot of Danielle Steele in my like tween years, which I don't know why I didn't branch out, but Danielle Steele was the author I found, and there were about 50 books to read, so I just dug in. But then I got away from romance and got into like thrillers, and I was real into murder for a while, and then went to graduate school, and I didn't get to read anything that was fun. And then a few years, about 5-6 years ago now, I started commuting and listening to audiobooks, and fell in love with romance. And then that's sort of what brought me back to my love of love stories and love of high heat and love of the chemistry and all of those things. So now I still live in Iowa. I work at a university and I teach and I work with college students and do a lot of different things that have nothing to do with romance. And it's so wonderful to come home and for that still to be my escape. Right. And then How to Fail at Flirting is my debut. It's my first novel.
Yeah, let me tell you. Okay, so I was a little confused about, I'm like, okay, it came out in November. So I was like, this is her first novel. Well, no, hold on, let me take that back. Because he was in the second grade.
Well, true.
Wrote a novel.
I wrote a book. It was about 8 pages long, handwritten, called I Hate You. And then the sequel I wrote a few days later was I Still Hate You. And somewhere my mom kept those. I have them in my closet somewhere, but I've always loved to write. And actually like a year ago, I thought about some angsty poetry I'd written in like 98, 99. And I was like, didn't I put that on the internet? And then I found this random website that I haven't been to in 25 years. And it was still there.
What?
The website didn't look like it'd been updated since 99, but my horrible, angsty, like overly dramatic poetry was still there. So I've always loved to write, and I didn't ever think I could turn it into a novel, but it's pretty cool to see it that way.
Oh my God. So what was the turning point that you said, you know what? I'm going to go back to, first of all, reading romance, and I'm just going to write me a novel. I don't care. I'm just going to go home one day and write me a novel. What happened to just push you to that point?
Well, it was 2016. So all this was happening. And my son was about 4 months old, I think, at the time. And I was just buried in momming and work and like writing I was doing for work, which is academic. And my escape, like my feel-good place, was listening to romance novels. And I was listening to a Mariana Zapata book. I think it was Wait for It. And I thought, I wonder if I could write this. And that night when my son went to bed, I just sat down and I wrote the first page of the book. And largely that first page hasn't changed. She's in a classroom with a kind of jackass student and thinking about like what is happening with my life, because that's very much where I was. And I just thought it would be a fun, short little funny story. And then the next night I went back to write, and the next night and the next night and the next night. And it was like I found myself again. Like I felt this part of my personality just like open up. And I could put it on the page, and I didn't think it was very good. I mean, spoiler, it probably wasn't very good at that point, but it was fun and it was exciting. And it was something that I could do that was mine, that I could hold. And then I just kept doing it. And eventually it was a whole book. And I thought, wow, this is great. Let me show it to someone. And then they told me the reasons it wasn't. And then I rewrote it and I edited it. And I was like, I think this is perfect. I think I could publish this. And then showed it to some people and they're like, maybe not. And so did a little more editing. And then it kind of grew from there. But it really just started as truly like this was my escape. This was how I could find myself again in this time period where everything just feels like it's kind of crashing and crumbling around us.
I understand that. Now, okay, how hard was it for you to get published? Because, you know, we hear the horror stories.
Yeah.
Well, for some, I've interviewed a few, a lot of authors, and their stories vary, but more than not, they all had a hard time getting published. How hard was it for you?
I feel like if there are authors writing, they're going to judge me. I think I actually had a pretty easy time, which is definitely not the case for a lot of authors, and specifically a lot of Black authors and authors of color. Right. I think I just hit the right notes at the right time, but I probably queried literary agents for about 3 months. And then once I signed with my agent, we probably were out on sub for maybe like 6 weeks on submission when you send out your book to publishers. So my process was fairly smooth. And again, I think I really just hit the right story to the right people at the right time. And kind of in that right moment. And then the book came out 18 months later because publishing can be slow. But I've had a pretty smooth road, which I think a lot has been like, I know I wrote a good book, but I think I also had some luck along the way too.
Girl, you can go on and say it. I say it all the time. Favor ain't fail, but I take it.
I mean, you know, it is what it is. And Yeah, there's that. So I really didn't have that arduous a journey to publishing yet anyway.
Well, that's good. Man, that's good. I mean, I think with this book, everybody who read it was like, okay, girl, who needs to be who she's going with? It should be like a bidding war. It was crazy. So your latest release is How to Fail at Flirting.
Yes.
Denise. Okay. Can you tell us, before I have questions about the title, what, when, how, and girl, can you tell us a little bit about the book without giving us a spoiler? Because even though it came out in November and we all have read it, you might have about 2 or 3 people who haven't.
Hey, it's on sale right now, so folks can go. That's cool.
Right. Tell us a bit about it.
The book is about Dr. Nia Turner, who is a professor of math education. She is a survivor of a abusive relationship, and so that definitely comes up in the book. I think that's an important content warning for potential readers to know that that's part of the book. But she finds herself in this place where she's really unhappy with her life. She feels in a rut. She feels like she's not really kind of living her best self. And so with the help of some pushy friends, she makes a to-do list because she's very type A, and when you want to get a life and you're type A, you make a to-do list. And what starts as a joke seems in the end kind of like something she can do. So she challenges herself to go out, to let a stranger buy her a drink, to flirt with a bartender, to have a one-night stand. The bartender spills her drink. She does flirt with a guy pretty successfully. The one-night stand is a big fail. But ultimately what she ends up flirting with is finding herself. She flirts with taking chances. She flirts with the guy, but she also flirts with falling in love. And that one definitely pays off in the end. Along the way, she also flirts with career ruin, with challenging herself, and then challenging and tackling her trauma. And so all of that is in the book. And all of that can sound very heavy, but there's also a lot of fun. I think banter, you get to see this relationship grow from a long distance and then back together. There's a little bit of heat. And so it's really ultimately the story of finding, not finding love that takes away your pain, but finding somebody who stands beside you while you tackle it.
Oh, it was kind of nice. She was giving me her life, buddy. I was like, she's giving me my life. I was like, that one night stand. I was like, well, she went all the way there, like just at first. Girl, I absolutely loved it. Okay, so we have a few questions for you,
okay.
Denise.
Hit me.
You say hit me. See, I'm not going. Not the crazy ones yet. You know. She's like, I know about you, Miss Brown, but okay, we want to know though, where do you find your style and genius for your brand as a writer?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know I got deep, didn't I? See?
Yeah, I mean, the genius is innate, so there's that. Just kidding, or not. But
that's that favor again. I'm trying.
I think when I started writing, I really didn't know about writing. I read romance a lot, but I didn't know about craft, and I didn't think a lot about how to pull in the tropes. And so when I started writing, it was just sort of this story that kind of bloomed. Like, if I was coaching a new author, I might not encourage them to write a story that includes domestic violence, like right out the gate. Like that can be a heavy topic and challenging to navigate, but I didn't know to ask those questions. And so I think now that's just part of my brand, that I write contemporary stories that I think speak to real issues. So I think sometimes, like, we call them fluffy books. I think that's kind of diminishing, but truly escapist books that are low angst are great. Right. I will probably never write those books because I think the real problems that affect us are so meaningful in showing that you can tackle them, that you can have a happily ever after and still feel broken and still have this thing around you or this situation or, whatever it is. And so I think that's part of my brand. There will always be cheesy jokes, so I could pretty much promise that.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Hot nerds for the win. I'm all about that.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, Denise, take our audience into your lab for developing characters.
I would love to say there's a lot of like intentionality around it. I don't know that there always is. I usually start with the heroines are almost always who I start with.
Okay.
And the heroines I've written, usually there's some element that speaks to my life. I've never written myself in a book, although my next book is probably the closest to me.
Right.
But I think about that emotion or that thing that they're trying to solve and how I think through that. So, is it feeling lost? Is it needing to feel powerful? Is it feeling misunderstood or whatever that is? And then kind of start from there. I pull from different people in my life, especially for my heroes. Someone was like, is Jake is so great. Is he based on your husband? I was like, no. Jake is based on like the best things about all of these different people that I
was gonna ask you that. I was like, maybe Jake is, because a lot of different authors are like, when they write about some of the male characters, one or two of them are based off, their spouse. So I was gonna ask that. But you're like, no Jake's over there.
No, my husband is great in other ways, but he never bought me pencils, I guess. Anyway, so that's kind of where I start from characters, and then I just really try to think about how people would like get in the head of that character. Like, what do they care about? What are they passionate about? What are they scared of? And how that shapes how they interact with people and what they do and how they move through the world. And I usually write, I often write heroines who are either Black or biracial, like myself. And so thinking about like, racism isn't the story that I'm telling, but how is their racialized experience shaping how they move through whatever situation they're in? And so that's always kind of part of my process too.
Okay, so being biracial and writing African-American stories, do you feel sometimes like you need to pay homage to both sides of your nationality, or do you feel like since that 1% drop is there, I have to be solely into African-American novels? Like, do you ever want to just switch it up sometimes, write about both, or are you just strictly into one I don't want to say genre because romance is a genre, but just amplifying the Black voices?
Yeah, I think I read pretty widely across, and not only just Black and white authors, but authors of other ethnicities and backgrounds. And right. I think there's different stories to tell there. I think, I think one challenge we see in romance, and mine falls into this, it's an interracial romance, is right. That is so much more prevalent, especially in traditional publishing and in indie publishing. There's so much more variety and diversity, but interracial stories are still much more common than seeing Black love and seeing Latino love, seeing Asian love, versus seeing interracial stories. And that,
I'm glad you said that. I'm sorry to cut you up. I'm glad you said that. That is more common. People don't, and for some strange reason, I don't know why people don't understand that though. Interracial love is more common than just strictly Black love or just strictly white love. It's like that diversity is hidden, as my nephew would say.
Yeah. And it's all things. Like, those stories are real. I'm from an interracial relationship. I'm in one. But those stories are real. But I think there's definitely room, especially in traditional publishing, to show all different types of couplings and how people come together. And so I don't remember where I was going with that with the question, but I do try to read across. And then I think it's interesting. I think it depends on the character and in terms of like how they think about their race and ethnicity. So Naya very talks about it with Jake and has some discussion. My next heroine doesn't talk about it. She just kind of references, oh, these are my parents and here's what I look like, and I grew up in a small town, and it's not something that she's talking about because it doesn't come up in the course of the story. And so I think it just depends. Like, I've worked with students of color in college settings and studied race and ethnicity for a long time. And being multiracial is just so different for everybody. For some people, it's, I identify as multiracial and that is my identity. And some folks are like, right. I am Black. I just happen to have a white parent. But I'm culturally, personally, I identify I'm Black. And other folks are like, well, yes, I look like a person of color, but I see myself as white, and that's how I was raised. And there's just so many different ways that people view themselves kind of across all, diasporas that I think it just depends how the character sees themselves in terms of what homage they play.
Right, right. I understand that. I like that. I mean, I love the book, and I like when, of course, I love Black love, of course, but I do like when the interracial couples, their thing they have going on, because it's just different, you know. It's almost like you're merging two worlds together, and to see that it's the love, not the ethnicity, that brings them together, you know,
100%,
or gets them through all the troubles that they're going through. Well, it wasn't anything, you know, it had nothing to do with color or love, anything that was Naya through, honey. Naya was just
she was on the boat, and then she was on Jake. So
you know, literally. Literally. I was like, oh my God. Okay, Denise, another question for you. So the blackbookstore.com, it exists to help our writers and community to do business with each other. How can the Black community support authors today? Well, support Black authors today, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is reading the books, and whether that's buying the books, which is great, or getting them from the library, or I mean, those are two great sources, but also reviewing the books. And so that's so huge for authors, especially. I think I've been very lucky to be with a big publisher, and they'll promote it and get folks to not get folks to review it, but it'll be out there enough that people will review it. So often, I think for Black authors, white reviewers or white readers aren't always taking the time to read or taking the time to review the book. And so I think that can be huge. But reading is just number one. And just, I think so many people love seeing themselves on the page for a love story.
Yes.
It's taking a chance on those authors that you maybe don't know, or those covers you're not sure of, because they do show you, I think is huge too. But especially in romance, I'd say that's the case. But I think reading and reviewing is so huge for authors, and just talking about books and talking about books with people who we think would enjoy them is big.
It's big. Okay, so reviews are a big thing for you authors. Like, you know, once you get now, is there a particular, because I you know, we have a lot of book bloggers or book reviewers, you know, is there a particular platform that you guys kind of look to? Like, okay, let me look on here, you know, this platform, and see how do we do, or, you know, is there like a particular platform for that, or just whoever decides to review on whatever platform it helps you guys?
You know, I think anywhere helps. I made a pointed decision several months ago to not read the reviews, so I haven't been in to look at them in a long time, which is a whole other story I can tell if we come back to it. But you know, I think on Goodreads is great, because before the book comes out, people can start learning about what's coming.
Right.
And then I think probably the most prevalent is Amazon.
Yeah.
But on IndieBound or bookshop.org, or, you know, any book kind of platform, most of them have some kind of review system. Some of the, you know, indie bookstores on their websites do, libraries do. So it doesn't, I think anywhere where people are getting books, if you have time to leave a review, that's excellent. Even if it's just on your own Facebook page or Twitter, or I feel like I'm a little too old to fully understand Clubhouse or Snapchat, but they're too cool.
Girl, I'm confused too. I'd be like, I'm still trying to figure Instagram out, honey. I'm like, look.
I love that people repost TikTok videos to Twitter, because then I feel like I'm a little bit in the know without having to understand TikTok. But that's okay. I work with college students. They will educate me. But yeah, a review anywhere people are going to read it. I think that's ultimately helpful.
Okay, so you know, look, I wouldn't be me if I didn't go back to why you don't look at your reviews.
Oh yeah, I mean, they always tell you not to, but I didn't listen to that. And I'm like, I'm in academia, I write papers, we are raised on getting feedback and critique. That's just kind of what we do. Right. And so I was like, I can handle it. So for a couple months, and my book went up early. It went out in May to start getting reviews, and didn't come out till December. So it was out for a while. Right. And I read everything, refreshed the sites multiple days. I was cross-referencing. And reviews really didn't bother me. Positive was great. More negative was okay. I kind of learned from it, until I got one that was just really scathing. And that I could probably recite that to you. It lives rent-free in my head.
Please recite it.
You know what? I don't know that that's great for my mental health. So,
well, you know what? And that's, listen.
I just cut it cold turkey. And now I get tagged in reviews sometimes, and that's lovely. And readers will email me and tell me kind of what the book meant to them. So I still kind of get that
Right.
of what people think, but I'll send my husband out to go pull some 2-star, 5-star reviews if I feel the need to read them later.
Okay, I understand that. Well, I'm glad that you didn't let that scathing review, just kind of mess you up. Because some people, and when you say about the mental health, that thing is real. People don't understand that. When I grew up, people used to say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never bother me. I'm like, yo, that's a lie.
Yeah, that's never been true.
Yeah, that has never been true, because death and life is in the power of the tongue. So sometimes a person's opinion can just mess up another person's whole. You could have been like, you know what? I'm just going to stop writing, and I'm not going to do anything else off that one review. So
and that happens to people, and
yeah,
it didn't just, it hurt, and I was like, I probably don't want to I don't want to read that, and it's not for me anyway. It's for readers, so. Right. If my editor gives me that critique, okay,
that's different.
A trade review, I don't really have a choice, but I don't need to go looking for it. It's not for me anyway. So that's where I am right now.
Let me go and give you my review.
Okay.
I loved that book, honey. I'm telling you, I did. It's so crazy because I don't know why, and I'm just gonna be honest. We're real transparent here. Brown Book, Rod Con, all of us. I thought it was 2 books out, right? And I don't know why I saw November 2020 for both books, but no, Fail at Flirting came out in November. Your other book will be out November 2021.
Yeah, this one came out December 1, and the next one will be out November 2nd.
Oh, okay. And let me tell you, I was tripping because I was like, where's the other book? Did I miss something?
It is not done yet, so nobody has read that one yet.
Okay, I was looking for it. I was like, okay, Shay, put your glasses on. You done missed Denise's book, because I thought I finished that one. I was like, I know I've seen 2 books.
I will make sure you get a copy when it's out for ARCs.
Yeah, so listen, I'm gonna go on all the platforms. I'm gonna go on Goodreads, I'm going on Amazon, I'm going everywhere and just get all reviews.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yes. Look, and if I see a bad review, I'm gonna reply to it. No, and
please don't do that.
I'll do it for you. This ain't nothing. Listen, y'all, Denise is not doing this. We're doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, this book here was awesome. I cannot wait until the next one.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
It was so much fun. Like, I like books that I could be like, that takes me through different emotions. It's where I'm like, oh man, dang, Naya. Like, oh no, one night stand. Okay, then, yeah, get it, girl. And so, like, then she had issues at work, and I was like, and then it was funny. Then I'm laughing. And then
my kid's 5 now, or 4 now, and so he was laughing at me when the audiobook came out because I was listening to it in the car. Well, the parts he listened to when he was and he's like, "Why are you so happy?" And I was like, "I don't even recognize this book."
It was funny, and it was so lovable. It looks like a real relationship. I love when I read a book and I can see myself. I'm like, I can see myself doing this. I almost like you have deja vu.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, I had this conversation with one of these girls I was with, honey. Yeah. So the book was good. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Our next question here is: so many writers yearn to be published, but what fake feedback must they be prepared for as a professional writer?
Oh, fake feedback?
Mm-hmm. Girl, I'm coming with good questions today, girl. I'm coming with good questions.
Okay. Fake feedback, like kind of coded messaging.
Yeah.
Well, this one's hard because sometimes it's real and sometimes it's fake, and you won't ever really know, which is fit. It's not a fit at this time. It's not a fit for my list. It's not a fit for this house, which is the same thing in like jobs, right? Like sometimes that's true, like it's not a fit. And sometimes that's coded language for, we already have a book by a Black author, won't fit with our readers or whatever that is. And I think oftentimes that is genuine feedback. It isn't a fit for like the list or the market or whatever. But yeah, like that's kind of common language that's thrown around. It's not anything you can really do with. Other fake feedback. I don't know. I'm really have to think about that because, like I said, I've been really happy with my experience. I've gotten pretty genuine feedback, and I think helpful feedback along the way from folks who I think were pretty real too. And so I didn't have to deal with a lot of the messaging and those sorts of things. One thing that I did hear a lot, this was before I started kind of my publishing journey. I was still writing the book, but I had critique partners. And I had a lot of them tell me this isn't realistic. Which I have said to people in critiques before, like, this isn't realistic. But the thing they were referring to was usually the character talking about or experiencing racism, a professor having this sort of life and this other things going on. I got feedback a lot early on, like, I don't think a professor would think that. I don't think a professor would do this. Like, a professor wouldn't have a one-night stand. I'm like, have you met professors?
Right. What?
When they hand you a PhD, it does not mean your mess is cleaned up. It usually means it's just beginning. So some of those things, or like when I wrote some consent things into the book, I just got some feedback from people that, this isn't realistic. And it was more that it's not what they were used to. It wasn't their experience. But I think if you're writing something that speaks to what you believe, like, you should keep doing that.
Right.
And then, when you hit a point in your career where you have to decide if you fight for it or not, I think then you can make that decision. And for me, like, things around race or body size or kind of those real discussions, that's the next book, are always things I'm going to fight for because I think they're real and they're things I want to see on the page as a reader. And so I think authors just have to decide, what hill are you going to die on? And what feedback will you ignore? Because sometimes there's also that, you play the game you choose to play.
Right.
And so if you're in traditional publishing, like, you're answering to an editor, you're answering to a house, you're answering to an agent. So there are some of those hills, those battles you have to decide if you're going to fight or not. But it doesn't mean they're not worth fighting. And it doesn't mean that you don't win them sometimes.
Right. Now, being that your book, we open with domestic violence. Did your publishers have an issue with that at all? Were they like, hold on, Denise, they might not be quite ready for that. Look, put that down in page 8, 9, 10 somewhere. Open it. So this is a two-part question. Like, did they have an issue with that? Did you have to kind of curtail it a little bit? And how much research did you have to do for that? To write that? Like, did you have to go to the like the women's shelters for abuse? Or did you have the women that have been abused? Did you have friends that were abused? Was it like, how hard was it to write that portion of your book?
So to the first question, no, the book always had that in it. And so when the book sold, that was part of it.
Okay.
And no, they never asked me to tone that down. I did change some scenes and we moved some things around in terms of her arc, but that was more of us wanting to get to a certain end. And then me thinking that was the way to do it. I do remember my editor saying, like, Davis has way too much time on the screen. Here's the number of times his name is said. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, he can still have this menacing impact without him being talked about or thought about directly as much. And I think that was exactly right. In the end, like, without giving out spoilers, how the everything ends kind of with her and her ex, that changed a little bit to give her more power, which I really love that version now. So I really felt like my editor and when I was working with my agent too, like, the editing, we did change some of those pieces, but it was to make it a stronger story for the heroine without taking away, I think, the reality of that survivor experience. So I was never like told to take that out. Some folks ask with like sex scenes and stuff too. Like, I was never told to edit those out or edit them down or anything like that.
Yeah.
I did cut a number of them in the drafting process. There's probably 6 or 7 on the cutting room floor, but which is hard to believe. It's just a lot in the book.
Yeah, don't take
that. But in terms of research, my degree's in education, but it's in what's called student affairs. And so I've done a lot of training throughout the years on responding to different kinds of crises, responding to different student experiences. And so students experiencing violence, inter-partner violence has been part of my training. And I think that's probably where I started too. This was also in 2016. And so thinking about Me Too issues that were kind of in the news a lot and thinking about those stories. So I drew on some of my own training and my academic background, but also talking to people, definitely not like going in to interview people like in shelters where that trauma was so fresh and asking them to relive that, but definitely hearing stories from friends, from colleagues, talking to survivor advocates. Adriana Herrera, I don't know if you've had her on the show or not, but she does a lot of education around writing domestic violence and romance specifically. She's a social worker by training and writes incredible books. They're so steamy. So that was part of it. And then my own experiences with I didn't have anything like what Naya experienced, but dating narcissists or working with them or being in those professional arenas with people who have some of those traits like Davis. And then from there, just tried to make sure that everything I wrote had a lot of eyes on it before I finished it, to see like, this is not any one person's story because we don't have those single stories, but is there anything that feels off kind of in her development, and try to make an authentic story for her. Right. And somebody asked me, actually, I was doing an event yesterday and somebody asked, well, did you think about getting her therapy sooner? And I was like, well, she's fictional. And so no, because she wouldn't have asked for therapy sooner. Right. She wouldn't have realized and admitted that she needed help until she got to kind of that point in the book. And and for some readers, they're like, she should be in therapy at the beginning of the book. I'm like, well, yeah, most of us should be in therapy all the time. It doesn't mean that we are. And so I think that's interesting too. But now I also sort of think all my characters will end up in therapy at some point in the books. Maybe that's part of my brand now too.
Well, but you know, hey, it brings awareness to, you know, because a lot of people, just being honest, that look like us, we feel like that Black people don't need counseling, or, you know, like going to therapy is a bad thing, but it's not.
No. And you know, look too, like it's hard to find in a lot of areas, like here, it's hard to find a therapist or counselor who is Black or who is a person of color or who gets it, or you get the feeling gets it. And so, yeah, there's some of that resistance to it too. And in being a woman of color in academia, like she feels like there's these pressures on her anyway. And so that is something I've had those conversations with people before. And so it's interesting how fast those characters start to feel like real people. Like, well,
she came off as a real person. Cause I mean, I was, and I guess when reading the book, like it takes you put yourself in her position. I mean, you know, minus the one night stand, but you know, some of us did put ourselves in that position. Anyway, so
I wasn't married. I mean,
focus, Shay, focus. Okay, so it was steamy, it was hot. And I liked it because you didn't put her in counselor right then. You know, it seemed more real. It's like, you know, no, we don't need counseling right now because we don't think it's an issue. You know, so I like it that you took us through like her whole mindset. Like it seems so real. That's what I liked about your writing. I'm like, I cannot wait. That's how girl looking for book 2. I'm like, something that happened. I don't know. Did I miss
it? You're good. Another just 9 months.
I can wait 9 months, girl. I can wait 9 months. I guess, you know.
Well, I mean, the arc will be out in a few months. So that's
okay. Y'all gotta wait a few months. Okay, cool. I'm good.
Yeah.
All right. So why is amplifying Black voices, Black stories important to our community, that you feel?
It's everything. I mean, I think so often the stories of Black people, and I think a lot of people of color, have been told by white voices.
Yes.
It's that idea that history is told by the winners. That's a whole other thing. You know, it's that idea that our stories have been erased or told at the behest of people in power, people with racial privilege. And so it's really critical to amplify Black stories, particularly own voices stories, because there's so many stories to tell and it provides so much visibility. And that Black stories are not, there are great Black stories about trials and tribulations, but they are not all about that. There are stories about joy. There are stories about unwieldy detectives. There are stories about rambunctious kids. There are stories about female friendship. There are stories about trans people living their best life. And so amplifying Black stories is just amplifying Black people and showing all of these different ways in which we are living our lives. And thinking about romance is amplifying that Black people and Black couples are having love stories and having happily ever after, and that is a very normal thing to show. I think about, when did that Cheerios commercial come out? Like maybe it was 5 or 6 years ago with the interracial couple. And
I love that.
Cheerios. And that was the story. Like it was just there. And I remember seeing that and my little brown girl heart just melting. My husband was like, why are you tearing up over a Cheerios commercial? And I'm like, look what's on the screen. It's seeing yourself in a happily ever after is so huge. Other people seeing you in a happily ever after speaks a lot to justice. I taught it was a seminar course, so it was just one credit, half semester discussion class on romance novels and social justice, and how romance is a genre that can be pivotal in thinking about social justice in terms of representation, in terms of challenging patriarchy, in terms of challenging like patriarchal structures embedded in like racism, sexism, homophobia, some of those things. And that was so much fun to kind of deconstruct these things with a bunch of Iowa students, mostly white Iowa students who don't read romance, who are honor students and who wanted to be there and discuss and learn and have these great conversations. And we got into some of that too, in terms of, who deserves love and whose love story is told is such a basic human emotion to convey. And that can go a long way to thinking about how we think about justice, of who kind of deserves love and whose love stories do we value.
I absolutely love it, Denise. You are so, listen, I was like, honey, this little Miss Ma'am with this old PhD, honey, she is, I love it. So smart. Like, I absolutely love it. Okay, Denise. So, since it's Black History Month, we're going to play True or False.
Okay.
Black History Edition.
Okay.
I kept them easy. I was like, we're not going to go nothing too hard. I didn't want to get nothing I had to do a lot of research on. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, I got my phone right here if I need to Google something.
No, Denise. You cannot phone a friend. This is
okay. Sounds good. I'm here.
Okay. You ready? This is easy. And you're going to know this. I'm telling you, you're going to know this.
Okay.
All right. True or false? Phyllis Wheatley was only 12 when she became the first female African-American author published. True or false? She was only 12.
Let's say true.
Are you guessing or do you?
No, I'm totally guessing.
True. She was. Yep. She was. Yeah.
Amazing.
Only 12 years, which is amazing. That's why I used to tell people, honey, my Black is amazing. 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
All right. True or false? Octavia E. Butler was dyslexic.
I want to say true.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Okay, look at you, girl. You getting it, huh?
First one was a guess. I don't think I get credit for that one.
Credit is credit. Listen.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, she was dyslexic. Okay, true or false? Langston Hughes' great uncle, John Mercer Langston, was the first Black man admitted to the Ohio bar.
I'd like to point out that these are the easy questions. Let's mix it up and say false.
No, it's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unrelated but related, I was cleaning out a box of things in our office, and my office runs a building called our Black Cultural Center,
right?
That folks founded in the 70s. And we had some old books that we just put out on a table for students to take. We were getting rid of them. And I grabbed one of them and opened it up. And inside was a book of Langston Hughes' book. Mm-hmm. And inside was a signed photo. And it was dated, I think, from the 60s or something like that. But I just snapped that off the table. So that's sitting in my office still.
Oh my God. That is how girl is. You might need to take a picture of that. Send it to me so I can frame that girl.
I know. I was like, and the students were picking it over and that was left. And I was like, why are they leaving this one? And I was like, oh, it's going to take that.
Oh, that's so the history of that. Oh my God. That's crazy. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Next question.
No, you good. Because now I'm like, I need a picture of that. Betty Boop was based on a Black woman.
Oh, that is totally true.
Totally true. Okay, do you know the name of the woman?
I don't remember. I remember reading all about it, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember reading all about it. So I'm like, Betty Boop. But then look, think about it now. Her curves and her figure and the way she, I was like, yeah, she had to be a sister.
Well, and even her hair, like it was the woman's kind of like her edges and.
Yes.
Okay, when I can use my phone again, I'll look it up because I do remember reading about that.
Yeah, she was high. I was like, okay, cool. Now, of course, this one, if this is true or false or not, of course, Harriet Tubman was the first woman to lead a U.S. military operation.
True.
Yeah, that's true. I said, look at Harriet. Listen, Harriet was doing a little more than just
And I am really mad that I learned more about Harriet Tubman from drunk history than I did from my AP high school history class.
What's drunk history?
Oh my gosh, it was, I don't think it's on the air anymore, but it was on, I think it was on Comedy Central. And the host would get a guest, they'd get drunk together, and then the guest would tell the story of a historical happening. And then they would film it after the fact, and they would use the narration of the drunk person. And so they actually told a lot of Black stories that I was like, for real? That's real? And it is, like, it's real history. But then I was like, I learned more from drunk history than I did in my, high school history class. But it's a fun show. I don't know if it's still on the air or not.
Girl, I'm gonna have to go find that, honey, because that's right up my alley.
I loved it.
All right, Denise. If you were hosting a dinner party and could invite 5 people from any era, who would it be?
Any
era.
I mean, I'm really trying to wrap my head around hosting a dinner party at this moment since no one's in the house in a year.
Right. Yeah. Look, after COVID, if you were hosting
post-COVID, and I could pick all the people,
5 people, any era, dead or alive.
Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this. I would invite. Okay. This is somebody nobody will know, but I would invite Benjamin Crisden, who was my great-great-grandfather. And I know I got really into like ancestry, and I traced a lot of our family back. And he was born a slave, but he was still alive when my grandma was alive. And so there's just like a little bit I know about him, but my grandma has passed. And so anyway, I'd invite him because I want to know more about him. I would invite Toni Morrison. I would invite Michelle Obama because I want us to be best friends.
Michelle's eating at everybody's table. She could be fat by the time this is over.
Right. And I'm comfortable with that. I'm here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if I'm inviting Michelle, I'm like Kamala too.
Okay.
And then, oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this. So hard. How about the Betty Boop woman? Because I got to know her name before I invite her. But and I think that was from like the 20s, right? Like the jazz age. Yeah. Let's go with that.
We'll go with that. I love it. Yeah. The authors that I asked this question, y'all, Michelle is, everyone wants to sit down with Michelle. Michelle is awesome. She's awesome. When I met her, I was like, just so real. I'm like, oh my God, that's the first lady, Jesus.
So something I do in my car, I probably should admit this, but if I need to like give myself a pep talk, I just pretend I'm being interviewed by someone, and it's always like Oprah or Michelle Obama or like Meghan Markle or somebody. I'm like, they would interview me, and they will ask me questions, and then I kind of answer them out loud while I'm just driving in my car, and it's how I work through problems.
Really?
And so I'm like, if Oprah ever calls and she's like, we need to interview you tomorrow, are you ready? I'll be like, I'm prepared. I've practiced. I'm ready. Same for Michelle Obama, just putting it into the world.
I'm telling you, because you're going to make all the lists, all the bestsellers, all the award winners, everything. So they will be interviewing you.
Well, let's hope.
But when they do, when Brown Book call again, don't be acting funny with us, Denise, talking about after Michelle.
I'll call you to come with me on Oprah.
Listen, everybody, y'all heard it here. I'm going with Denise to go see Oprah and Michelle and everybody. Okay, thank you. I already know what I'm wearing. My outfit just automatically just popped in my head and what I'm have on. So.
I'm gonna need to go shopping, so I'm glad you got it figured out.
Listen, I got you, girl. We'll go. Listen, I got you together with the shopping. Got you.
I lived in yoga pants for a whole year, so
listen, me too. It hurt my heart when they're like, Shay, can you stand up? Stand for what?
No.
Oh my God, it was a mess. Okay, so we have another segment that we do here, and it's called Author's Moments. Well, we ask you a question, you give us, just as transparent as you can be without, anything legally happening to you. Just answer.
Okay.
All right. Author's Moments. What's your most urgent priority for the rest of the year?
urgent priority for the rest of the year. Really what comes to mind first is my son. I just registered for him for kindergarten, which is like,
Yeah.
and so
Hmm.
with going through like preschool and this like critical developmental time, mostly in the house with us, and we are not that interesting. Just thinking about like how to, I don't know, how to prepare him and make sure he has everything he needs to go forward. And that's kind of front of mind. My book children are kind of off doing their things. So that's less front of mind right now. But that's for me, probably what's most urgent is just thinking about how to give him a quasi-normal experience.
Okay.
He's been planning his birthday party for like 4 months. It's not till June. I don't know what he's doing, but
I tell you, I had to plan. My birthday is in December. When I tell you I plan a year in advance, like I'm planning now for December.
Okay, well, you and him can hang out because he has all kinds of plans.
You gotta have plans. You gotta have plans. Girl, gotta have a plan, and that's a good thing. It works. It works in life. So he'll have his, he'll have his goals set and everything mapped out. So yeah, I love it, little boy. Look at him. Girl. Okay, author's moments. In being a novelist, what did you learn a little too late?
I think it was how to take feedback. Not even feedback, how to take critique. So like getting feedback and, hey, you could change this, or I didn't like this, that never hit me personally. And now, like when I see negative reviews or if I hear, like I can kind of just take those and I can put them over here. I can set them aside. But that would have been a great thing to learn a little bit earlier, to not take things so personally, especially with it being your first book. It feels like that's your child. And in some ways it is, except you gestated it for 4 years instead of 9 months. And then it's out in the world, and it feels like if somebody doesn't love it, that is a personal thing to you, when it's just really somebody didn't like the book, and is what it is. But yeah, I would have loved to learn that earlier. I think every author would have. The other thing is that it's really the best advice I ever got from Jen DeLuca, who wrote Well Matched and Well Played and Well Met, the Renaissance Fair books. And she said, like 90 to 99% of publishing is waiting for it to be your turn. Which is so true. Like other books are coming out and other authors are getting attention and other books are being hyped, and it feels like you've been forgotten about when really you're just waiting it to be your turn. And so I always try to remember that. I actually have it written on a bulletin board right above my screen here. I
love it. So your publishing company, you're with Penguin Random House, correct?
Yeah, and Berkeley within them. Yeah.
So was when they was like, okay, we're going to publish you, was you like, yes, I got with Penguin?
Yeah, actually, I was in my office and I had a student in there with me. I think they were signing a card or something for someone. I wasn't meeting with them, but they were in my office when my agent called. And I said, oh, sorry, hold on just a minute. And I took the call and my agent said, are you sitting down? And I was like, are you driving? And I was like, no, I'm at work. She's like, are you sitting down? I was like, no, what's happening? And then she told me about the offer. And so I screeched. And so the student who was in my office, who I didn't know very well, was the very first person I told I got a book deal because, and I think the second was my boss because he heard me screaming. And so that was kind of cool, but that was sort of my reaction. That is, I love the work that Berkeley's doing. And that was the house I was most excited to be with as we went through that process. And so it was just that total moment of, I can't believe this. And there have been a lot of moments like that since then.
Yeah, girl, I'm telling you, because your reviews are awesome. They are. When I was like, yo, you talking about amplifying Black voices. Yo, she came on the scene and her voice was heard. She was like, you gonna hear me. You hear that? Yes, girl, you did that. All right. Author's moments. What are you most grateful for right now in this moment?
Health is what comes to mind first. Me and my family have been healthy through all of this in the last year. When I think about bookish things, I'm really grateful for all readers, but most specifically, something I didn't anticipate. And there were a lot of things I was looking forward to about the book coming out, and felt like I could anticipate, and I knew there'd be good reviews and Bookstagram pictures and all of that, and I was excited about that. The number of readers who I know and who I don't know who have messaged me privately just to say, I'm a survivor and this is what it meant for me to read that, I didn't expect it. And I'm so grateful for those folks for like for just taking the moment to share that about themselves, but also for I don't know, like just trusting me with that. Like that's just not something I expected. And it's so meaningful every time I save all of those. I take their names off of it, but I save those messages just like in the text. And I know that that is not the case for everybody who has that experience that reads it, but it's been so incredible for people to trust me with that and to share that about themselves and to say that they saw that in the book. And that for me is so much bigger than reviews or like trade things and the other kind of wins that have been publishing that have been great. It's just hearing that the story you wrote spoke to somebody on that level has just been incredible.
I absolutely love it. Oh my God. Denise, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Yes, girl. Thank you for joining me here at RodCon. Before we have one more question we want to ask you, though, but before we ask this last question of the interview, could you please tell everyone where they can find you, where they can get your book, with your website and all your social media handles?
Yeah. So on Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Nick Will Writes, NICWILL Writes. And on Facebook, I think it's author Denise Williams. I'll be real honest, I don't get on my Facebook account that much. But my website is denisewilliamswrites.com. And there's buy links for the book there. I also have content warnings for How to Fail at Flirting, as well as my next book, which is The Fastest Way to Fall. Folks like to read those ahead of time. There's also a puzzle made out of the book cover, which is surprisingly complicated. So if you're still in Puzzleville, there's a digital one there, but resources for book clubs, all of that. And the book is on sale at all major retailers. You can get it from your favorite indie bookstore, which would be great. All the other ones as well. And then it's available in the UK and UK territories too.
Good deal. Good deal. Everyone, please go check out this book. You have to. How to Fail at Flirting. Let me tell y'all something. It is a riot. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You're going to get upset because I ain't going to no spoilers, but it's going to have you like really, okay, little boy, you're going to get upset, but then you're going to be overjoyed. You're going to be laughing, crying, happy. You know, the one night stands going to get you hot and all that good stuff. You're going to keep them on that one night stand, right? Yeah, it's gonna get you all the way together. Okay, Denise, and again, you know, because we thank you again for participating in RodCon with a professional of evolution. Is the value of the proposition we want, and you know, and we want our audience just to learn from all subject matters, you know, from experts such as yourself. So thank you again for coming on and just blessing us. This is awesome, and you have to come back. You have to come back.
And we're going to go on to see Oprah together. So there's
no, me and you together forever. You know what I'm saying? You gotta come at the RodCon, but no, me and you together. it's a wrap. Okay, our last question. If you were writing a book about your life, what would the title be?
There's Black people in Iowa. I don't know, like How to Fail at Flirting is pretty apt for my life. And The Fastest Way to Fall is my next book. And that is fairly close to my life too. So I don't know, the fastest way to flirt and fall in Iowa, maybe.
I absolutely love it. Again, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please, wherever you are, go pick up a book. Find Denise Williams' name and everywhere, pick it up. Buy more than one copy, give it to a friend, tell a friend to give it to her friend, all that good stuff. Just go make sure you go support. We have to amplify Black voices, and this is the way. Okay, go to theblackbookstore.com and pick up her book, How to Fail at Flirting. Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you.
Open up your brown book, baby. It's for you, it's for us. The fantasies, no one can judge us, no one can judge us. This is for us. Open up your brown book, baby.